Welcome to the Creative Chats Podcast with Mike Brennan. Hey, welcome to another episode of Creative Chats. It's the podcast for artists, makers, and content creators where we talk about creativity, the creative process, and story. I'm your host, Mike Brennan. You can connect with me over on my website, which is mikebrennan.me. And over there, I have a host of resources created with you in mind, because you are a creative person. Whether you call yourself an artist, a maker, whatever it is, whatever title, you make things, you create things. And so I want to see you do that even more consistently, because if your journey has been anything like mine, it's usually fits and starts and spurts, and it's inconsistent, and there really is no momentum or traction. And so I know what it's like to be in that place, but I also know what it's like to actually have some traction. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that on today's episode. Before I get there, I want to invite you to check out the Daily Creative Habit resources that are on my website. You can also go to dailycreativehabit.com, where you'll find resources like the Daily Creative Habit 90-Day Journal, which helps you track and measure so that you're setting intention, you're taking action, and you're actually realizing some of the things that you want to do creatively. Not just talking about them, not just thinking about them, but really executing. And then I have a free Facebook group that is a community of people who are showing up saying, I want to show up more consistently. Here's what I'm creating. Here's the questions I have. Here's the creative journey that I want to share and link arms with fellow like-minded people. That's available to you for free, and as well as some other resources. So swing over to dailycreativehabit.com. Check out those resources. I would love to have you as a part of this community. Now, for today's episode, I'm going to talk about my own journey. It is actually the 13th year of my daily creative habit. And that's not just something that's like a brand. It's not something that I just picked out of thin air. This is actually my personal and professional creative journey. It is the last 13 years of my life. And a few weeks ago, it marked the 13th year of me showing up every single day. That's right, every single day for the past 13 years and creating something. And I want to talk a little bit about where that came from, why I did that, what this journey has done to me and for me. We're talking about 4,745 days was the exact 13th year mark to the day. 4,745 days showing up every day, creating something. Now, the pieces of art that I created actually number probably more north of 6,000, because there were many days when I did more than one thing. But it's not that number that's important. It's really one daily creative habit journey, consistently showing up, consistently choosing myself. And the reason why I talk about this so much, the reason why I've created resources around this, is because I know the life-changing transformation that can come when you engage with your creativity, when you choose yourself, when you decide that you are going to show up to create. Now, I want to take things back to where this started for me. 13 years ago, I was suffering from depression. I was at a rock bottom moment. And if you've heard me speak, or you've heard some other references on this podcast, maybe you've heard a previous episode where I talk a little bit about my journey. I was at this place where many things in my life were just falling apart. And I was in this rock bottom moment and thinking to myself, what if I could get back to that place where my creativity wasn't about clients, it wasn't about monetizing it, it wasn't about all these external things that it one time had become. But what if I could return to that place where it was for joy, it was for me feeling good about the act of creating, and me being a kid that was creating greeting cards based on some of my favorite cartoon characters, and making these cards, giving it to family members, seeing their faces light up and hearing them say, "You made this for me?" And in that moment, realizing that I was able to create something that brought this exchange. Even if it was to bring a smile, I could make something and impact somebody else's life or day. And that's what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. That's continues to be what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to make things that actually have impact, that help other people, that sometimes bring a smile, sometimes helps, sometimes brings hope, redemption to some of my own experiences, and helps others feel seen and heard, and giving a space where people can come and engage with their own creativity. Because as I share my story, I may be sharing the particulars of what I've been through and what my journeys look like. But I want to do that because I want you to see yourself in it. I want you to be able to choose yourself when it comes to your own creativity. And whatever you've been through, whether it's wrestling constantly with the inner critic, or you haven't had the opportunities that you wish you had, or you've had opportunities but you've failed, and you feel like maybe time has passed you by, or maybe you've put your creativity on a shelf for a really long time. That's part of my story too. Whatever it is, wherever you are today, I hope that as I share this story, as I share my experiences and some of the insights, that you will see yourself, that you'll hear yourself, and more importantly, that you'll have a sense of encouragement and hope, and also some practical steps to put in place. So 13 years ago, suffering from depression, kind of hear this internal call. What if I came back to my creativity? What would that look like? And suffering from depression, all I could manage was maybe 10 or 15 minutes a day. The thought was engage with this 365-day art making journey. Every single day, show up and do something, make a piece of art. And I thought to myself, well, I haven't shown up the past 10 years. I'm not really sure if I can do this for an entire year. I had taken 10 years where I did nothing, absolutely nothing creatively. And I thought, can I come back to this? And what would it look like? And I didn't have answers. But I did know that I wanted to try. And I was at this place where I kind of felt like, what else do I have to lose at this point? So when you're at that place, sometimes you're willing to take chances and risks because you think, I need to do something differently. So here I was engaging with this daily art making journey and suffering from depression, trying to get health, trying to get some perspective, trying to find my passion again, find my purpose, honestly, a little bit more. And so I started with these really terrible 10 to 15 minute drawings, pen and ink drawings in my sketchbook. The first one was a Starbucks coffee cup, which was completely awful and completely embarrassing because I had gone to art school. And I thought if anyone looked over my shoulder right now and saw what I just did, they would laugh at me. And there was so much shame. There was so much embarrassment because my capacity wasn't what it once was. My skill set was rusty. But I knew enough that I had to keep going. I had to push through. That's exactly what I did. So in this time, I'm thinking to myself, how do I do what I set out to do, which was make it to the end of a year and show up and do something every day? What I ended up doing was stringing together small projects because it was too open-ended. It was too big at first. It was show up and do something. Well, we'll do what? Like, I don't really know. I don't know what materials to use. I don't know what subject matter to pursue. I don't know what really the purpose is beyond just showing up and kind of checking a box to say that I did it. So many questions, not a lot of answers, but I decided I was going to engage. And so giving myself small projects, I did like 7 days of flowers and 30 days of pets, 60 days of faces. I just kept giving myself some projects and some parameters, and it helped me engage. And it helped me also push through to go, if I didn't like something, I knew I was going to, quote, change the channel soon enough. And so the more and more I did this, the more momentum I got. The more I realized what I liked, what I didn't like. The more I realized, here's some subject matter that I want to lean more into. Here's some materials I want to explore more. I gave myself a place to play, to figure things out, to ask questions, to rediscover not only my creativity, but myself in the process. And it was such a journey for me. And I got to the end of a year and I did what I said I was going to do. And I felt good about that. But then I said, I think I need to keep going. And that's what kept me engaged with this year after year, all the way up to year 13. And by the way, I'm still going on this. because I realized that something was happening, not just in terms of me getting my skill set back or honing a talent or skill or ideas. It wasn't just about the projects. It wasn't just about the work, but it was also about me. It was about the self-discovery. It was then also about how do I want to use my creativity, not only for myself, but also to serve the people around me, for it to come back into my professional life as well. And it was through this journey that I really discovered my voice and my style. It's where I discovered the process of daily creative habit, which I talk about all the time. Starting small, scheduling it, celebrating your wins, playing, like all these things are part of this process that I repeated again and again and again, and I still do to this very day. And I encourage others to do that, because whatever it is that you're creating, we all come from the same place. We all struggle with the same things. And so if we can start to normalize some of this, and we can start to give some process around this to do the heavy lifting, then we can actually start to show up more often, more consistently, and then start to see some work actualized. And that's what started to happen for me. And it wasn't just about, again, the work. It wasn't just about me then all of a sudden having opportunities. It wasn't just about me figuring out what I liked and my voice and my style, like I said, but it was also about me engaging with the best part of myself. It was about me being fully alive. It was about me realizing that creativity is so much bigger than even just visual art. Graphic design is my background. That has been a context. That and drawing, visual art, that's what creativity looked like for me for the longest time. And I realized that there were other creative pursuits that I wanted to engage with outside of that as well. And so I've brought some of those things into this daily creative habit journey. So even in the last year or two, writing has been a big part of that as well. Whether it's writing for blog posts, whether it's writing social media posts, whether it's writing for my book or things that will become books, expressing, tapping into my experiences so that I can identify something and share it with you and invite you into something that maybe is an experience for yourself, where again, you can feel seen and heard, and somehow something of what I've experienced in my life, the things I've learned, that there's a transference. Because honestly, all of this is really about transformation. It's what happens when you consistently show up again and again and again. Something happens. You change. Your work changes. There's evolution of you as a creative person. There's deeper engagement. It's not simply just, I feel like drawing today, or I feel like making a painting today, and sitting down and trying to get your supplies together and then fumbling your way through, and maybe you feel good about it, maybe you don't. And then you kind of pack it away for a long time and you don't engage with it again. It's more a part of your rhythm. And just like some of the personal habits you may have that you do every single day, it is something that you engage with on that level as well. And there are certain things that you even stop thinking about and you just dive in. There are shortcuts that happen. You get into the mindset that you need to and that creative flow a lot easier because you're doing it more often. And so you're not waiting maybe weeks or months in between when you start to engage with your creativity again. Then it doesn't feel like this uphill battle. So I want to talk now about like really 4 things that have kind of come up out of this journey of mine and how it has changed and shaped me and has shaped and continues to do so even to this very day. The first thing is that consistency compounds. I often say it's the small, regular actions over time that create the massive change. That is what my journey has proven again and again. Small, consistent, those 2 things together. Because so often we have this big bias. We think we need big blocks of time. We think we need big budgets, big ideas. Everything is big, 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 big. But the problem is big hardly comes. And when it does come, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be able to engage with our creativity in the way that we hope to. And so instead of waiting for big blocks of time, having a whole day or a whole weekend or a whole week or whatever it looks like for you to have that space and really truly immerse yourself in it. Instead of waiting for that, which hardly ever comes, capitalizing on 10, 15 minutes a day, maybe a half hour, maybe an hour, and realizing that if I show up for 7 days in a row, even at 15, 20 minutes a day, that's a whole lot more that I'm putting into than if I was waiting for a whole afternoon or a weekend, which again may not come. Maybe it comes a handful of times a year if you're lucky. So it's learning to identify that there is value in the small and consistency. Momentum is a powerful motivation. When you start to see that things are happening, when you start to see that because you're showing up again and again and again, growth is happening. You're refining skills, you're getting ideas, you're acting on those ideas quicker, you're having a place that you know where you're showing up and how you're going to show up. And you're doing it again and again and again and again. That consistency builds and it is powerful. We understand this in other areas of our life. We understand, say, financially. If you make deposits in your bank, wherever you save money, it will continue to grow. It will be there and it will compound over time. You will see the results of you making those deposits. The same thing with withdrawals, of course, right? Or let's say even exercise. You know that if you go to the gym and you spend a certain amount of time every day or however regular you go to the gym or exercise, you know that you're going to see some results because you're putting the work in. You will see loss of weight. You will see muscle tone. You will see your body changing over time. Does it happen when you visit once? No, absolutely not. We get that. That's unrealistic. Well, the same thing happens with our creativity. We need to have more of a cumulative effect approach when it comes to our creativity, understanding that the more deposits we make, the more times we sit with ourselves and engage with creative acts, the more that will feed us and the more it will have this momentum behind it. And then it becomes easier because it's like you know what to do, you know how to engage, you know where your materials are, you're ready. And you enter into that space and you thrive in that space because you're doing it often. And even if you have an off day, even if you have a bad day where it's like, this is terrible, you know that you're going to show up again soon. And so it doesn't create this pressure behind it for you to have to do things perfect or have this masterpiece when you're done. So that's the first thing, is consistency compounds. The second thing is creativity reflects life. When I look at my work from that time period over the past 13 years, what I would do to actually help me celebrate and to recognize the growth is at the end of a year, I would make this collage. And in this collage, I would have everything that I've done in the past year, and then I would take that year and then add it to the previous years. And so right now, if you go to my Instagram, which is Mike Bone on Instagram, you will see pinned to the top an image that is a collage of what 13 years every single day looks like. It's these little, they're tiny little mosaics of what that looks like. But when I look at that, I can see growth. I can see when I was exploring a certain medium or a certain subject matter. I can see where I got lazy and routine. I can see where I was trying some things and maybe it was a bridge to something else. And all of this reflects my life. It reflects my interests. I was doing some things that were giving myself projects to say, I want to do some portraits. And the portraits that I'm going to do are going to be about some of the entertainment that I love. And so I can look at that and see when I was watching certain TV shows or certain movies or when I was leaning into certain activities. And those things are there as a visual diary, if you will. They reflect also my emotional state, my internal state, where I felt really great about something, or maybe where I was wrestling with some grief or sadness, places where I had wonder and was feeling joyful, where I got passionate about something, but then also, like I said, maybe where I got a little bit numb and was going through the motions for a little bit. Because that's what all this is. This creative journey, it's a journey, it's a dance, it's a fluid thing. You don't set it and forget it. You engage with it. And it is a living, breathing thing because we're a living, breathing thing. There are going to be days when we have off days, days where we phone it in, days where we have breakthroughs, days where we're passionate, days where we're struggling, days where we're celebrating. All of that stuff you can see in this mosaic image that I've made. And I would challenge you, if this sounds like something that you would like to do, that you would like to have this indicator, do it for yourself. Even if it's for a short amount of time, you'll at least start to see some things. You'll start to encourage yourself. So it's not just this big open thing of, well, I'm creating some things, but there really doesn't seem to be any progress towards something. There really doesn't seem to be a point in something. It's just these haphazard moments where I show up to create. The other thing about creativity reflecting life is that it becomes a way to process and heal and celebrate. There are so many times where I can look at my work and I can think, here's where I was, let's say, dealing with sadness. Something happened in my life and it was a way for me to be able to process. And I love journaling. I journal almost every day as well. But sometimes you need something different. Sometimes you need to step outside of what your normal go-to is so that it helps you process on a deeper level. And then also maybe creating something that helps someone else because they look at your work and maybe they don't know exactly what you were processing or working through, but something about that speaks to them as well. All of that is part of the mystery and the beauty of creativity. So the first two things we've talked about, consistency compounds. The second thing is creativity reflects life. The third thing, show up even when it's hard. This is something that I have really leaned into because when I say that I've showed up for 13 years every single day, I mean every single day. I mean on days where I got sick. I mean days where I didn't feel motivated to do this. Holidays, you name it. I made some time and space. Now, some days it was 15, 20 minutes because that's all I could manage, or I was dealing with some time prioritization issues. There were other times when I had larger blocks of time. It's not so important that you dial in and that you're so rigid about that, but really about you just showing up. Because when you show up and you do the work, something happens that won't happen outside of that. You know, not every day is going to be glamorous. It's not always going to be something that you feel completely proud of, something that you want to show. I would show my work on Instagram every single day, even the stuff where I felt like, ooh, this is a little embarrassing or really don't want somebody to see this. The reason why I chose to do that was because it was a built-in accountability for me to say, here I am, I'm showing up, you're on this journey with me. This is what this looks like today. And today, I wasn't feeling it. Or today, I took some stabs at things and I failed. Or this fell apart. Or this didn't match the vision I had in my head when I saw on the page. Because that's all part of this. Again, it's a living, breathing journey. And so you need to make sure that you allow room for that. You know, the 5-minute days are just as important as the days where I had hours. Why? Because it a lot of times was the bridge that I needed, or it was me showing myself that I could be consistent to keep going. It was never about one individual day, one project that I was working on, but it's really this holistic thing. It's this long-term journey, and it continues to evolve even to this day. You know, discipline kicks in when inspiration fades. Because when you've set yourself to go, I know when I'm going to show up. I know what materials I'm going to use. I have an idea of what I want to execute. And then you have this rhythm and this pattern of here's showing up, showing up, showing up, showing up, showing up. On the days where you're like, I'm not maybe as confident in the ideas that I have, or maybe I don't quite feel as inspired. Maybe I think is this really doing anything? Is this really going to change anything? Is this really going to produce some work that is going to have impact or speak to me or others the way I want it to? There are days when we question that. And that's part of this too. But when we have the discipline to be able to lean into this habit, that's what we're building, a habit of showing up every single day. That's why I call it the daily creative habit. It's a practice. It is something you show up again and again. And when you do that work of setting that up, the structure, you lean into the structure, then many times inspiration will come when you show up. It's not waiting for that idea. It's not waiting for the inspiration and then taking action. It's giving yourself the container, the place, the structure, and then realizing when you show up, something will happen. You'll start to engage. And is it a guarantee 100%? No, of course not. But more times than not, inspiration and the muse needs to find you working. So when you have that place to work, then you start to see things happen. So far, consistency compounds, creativity reflects life, show up even when it's hard. And the last thing I want to talk about is you don't have to be ready. You don't have to feel ready. So many times we think, I'm not going to start until everything seems to be aligned. Everything seems to be perfect, where I have the time that I need, where I feel confident in my abilities, where I have some opportunities, where maybe I have the artist community or creative community that I've been longing for. Whatever that looks like for you, whatever those voices are telling you, you have to have X before you start. You don't. My experience was rock bottom. Did I feel ready? Absolutely not. I felt ready to give up. I felt ready to say that there was no way I could come back to my creativity, that there was no way that I would ever do anything as good as what I had done in the past, and certainly not go beyond that. Those were the voices that were inside my head. They were saying, you need to be healthy. You need to work through some things. You need to get help in mental health. You need a certain block of time. You need opportunities. You need recognition. You need validation externally. You need whatever that looks like. And some of those things were the things that it looked like for me. I had to say, even though I don't feel ready, I'm going to start. Because the longer I delay, the longer I'm waiting for something that is probably not ever going to happen, and I'm wasting time. I'm wasting that part of my life. I'm not having agency over myself to step into something that helps me feel more alive, that helps me create something that speaks to me, gives me a place where I can process, where I can use my art to heal myself, and then also offer it to people as a healing for them as well, or a place for them to see something where they can be spoken to. Think about if your favorite artist, whether it's a visual artist, musician, whatever, dancer, videographer, whatever that looks like, filmmaker, if they waited until they were ready, they probably wouldn't have made that thing that speaks to you so much, that thing that's your favorite, the thing that you go to again and again, that brings you encouragement, that you love to have before you in those moments when you're feeling like you need some inspiration. Most likely, they started before they felt ready. I love a lot of times watching behind the scenes for movies. When you hear about some of the ways that these movies were made and the stories that happen behind the scenes that you don't know of, right? You've seen the final film and you maybe are celebrating that, but you didn't realize, oh my gosh, there were so many things that went wrong in the process of making that movie. And when they start to tell these stories, it brings even more of a weight and importance to what it is that actually made it into the public eye and then was celebrated. And again, it was because people were starting before they felt ready. They're like, I may not know all the things I need to know, but I'm going to start. I'm going to figure this out as I go. And I'm going to trust the process of working, of showing up, of choosing myself, of engaging with this creative work. That's when the magic happens. It is learning as you go. It is letting go of perfection. It is not waiting for things to align before you go, now I will start, because you will never start. Maybe that's the reason why you've been wanting to write a book for years and it is still just an idea or a bunch of scrap papers that you talk about every so often when somebody asks you, but you're no closer to actually finishing that. Maybe it's why you have that painting that has been sitting there for a really long time, because maybe you started it and then you kind of stepped out of it because you didn't feel ready. You didn't feel ready to finish it. You didn't feel ready to let go of something because you're like, I don't even know what comes next. And if I'm done with this, I've been working on this for so long. What does that mean for me creatively? And fear grips you. When you engage with your creativity, you find that there is so much more there. As I kind of round out this episode, I want to just share that there's an evolution that happens. There's change that happens, transformation. Again, that's what I said in the beginning of this episode, is that's what this creative journey is really about. It's about transformation. It's about you engaging with your creativity in such a way that it becomes actionable. It becomes essential to your everyday because it helps you be the best version of you. And whether you do that personally, professionally, both, you know that it needs to have a role in your life, and probably much bigger than it has right now. And yet so many of us spend years and years floundering, not knowing, how do I engage? How do I show up? How do I experience this transformation? And that's why I share this story. That's why I share my story and experiences again and again and again. And why I celebrate 13 years, and why I've celebrated 12 and 10 and so on and so forth. And I'll continue to do that as long as I'm engaged on this journey, because it's more than just these individual pieces of work. It is about the evolution of me as a creative person, me taking chances, me moving even beyond visual art into writing, into speaking, into all the things that have happened, even in the past where I've been engaged with music. These are all parts of me. These are all things that I have that are interests and abilities. And sometimes some come to the foreground and others go to the background, and vice versa. But it's me. It's me showing up, experiencing life, making things out of what I'm experiencing and offering them to other people like you. Expand your definition of creativity. Think about it in bigger terms, because it's not just you with a canvas, or just you with a blank page, or just you sitting there with your instrument in the midst of a struggle, in the midst of trying to make something that feels like it's expressing what you want it to express. It's saying and communicating the things that are important to you on a consistent basis. It's bigger than you. It is so much bigger. That's why I always share this, and you hear this on many episodes. I say, I believe that when you create, we all win. You win because you're showing up as you were created to, as a creator. You're making things because it's important to you, because it's a form of healing for yourself. It's a form of processing, because it's giving you an avenue and a place to communicate some things that are important to you, to express ideas, to make some things that make your life better and the people around you. And that's the other part, is you win because you're engaged in that process, and other people win because they're the recipients of what it is that you do. And that's what's on the line when you don't show up, when you're not consistent, because you're not tapping into things on a deeper level. You stay at this level where you flirt with your creativity, where every once in a while, when it gets lonely, right, you give it a call, right, like an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend, old flame. You're like, maybe they're still around. Maybe I can kind of call them up and we can hang out, and right, like, but that never goes anywhere, and it's fleeting. And so I'm saying there's a better way. There's a better way in being consistent. So if you're just starting and you're really not sure, my advice to you is start small. I mean, that's always my advice, regardless of who you are, but especially if you're just starting, you're trying to figure out a way in, start small. Small blocks of time, small projects, small ideas, and then build as you go. And if you're in the middle, you're in the messy middle, my advice to you is keep going. Keep going. It is a journey. It is not short projects. It is not a short finish line. This is something that is part of you and will be part of you, hopefully, your whole entire existence on this planet. Treat yourself with grace. Challenge yourself where you need to. But keep going. You will fail. You will have breakthroughs. You'll have moments of frustration and moments of celebration. It is all part of the journey. Keep going. And if you've fallen off, you've been doing this for a while, maybe you've put it on a shelf, maybe it's seasons of life happened where you couldn't do this because you had to be a caregiver or something else happened in your life and now you're looking to come back to it. It's never too late to begin again. It's never too late to begin again. Today could be your day one. And a day one is a beautiful thing because there are days that follow that as well. It's your starting point, your re-entry, your welcome home or welcome back. Wherever it is that you find yourself in this creative journey, in this creative life, I hope that something of my experiences, something of what I share, not only in episodes like this and in the resources that I create that I mentioned before, in the conversations that I have with guests, this is all part of it because this is all part of me. This is me showing up, engaging, being authentic, being vulnerable, talking about the depression, talking about the good times, the bad times, the breakthroughs, the times when I've created work that I feel like I want to celebrate more or that has been celebrated by others, opportunities that have come, all of these things. It's a continual process and journey. You are on it just as I am on it. We're in this together. And so I hope that today offers you some hope. I hope it offers you some encouragement and some practical takeaways as well. And if you'd like to connect with me over this, maybe you have a local group and you would like to have me come in and speak and share even more about my journey and my process to help you and your local community, I would love to connect with you. You can go to my website and there's a form on there to contact me. Shoot me that form and let's talk. Or maybe it is you personally wanting to tap into a resource like the Daily Creative Habit Journal. It's self-guided. It's 90 days of you setting intention and then taking action. It's a place to track and measure. I talk about this all the time. And again, it's not simply just pushing a product. It's me designing that because it's what I've used in my own practice. And I want to use that as a resource to help you win on your own creative journey. Maybe it is the Daily Creative Habit paid membership. It is the inner circle of people who are meeting saying, I want to engage on a deeper level and I want to show up in a place. We have live Zoom calls once a month and we talk about what's happening. What are you struggling with? What are your wins? Community, some accountability, and also some prompts where I say, try this for this week. How is this going? Maybe here's a way of thinking about things differently, a different approach that you can try. And it's about everybody lifting each other up. It's about community over competition. No matter what that looks like for you, whatever resource that I have, whatever it is that I make, I want to invite you into your next step. I also have a free newsletter that goes out every Monday. If you're not on my email list, sign up for that. It's a perfect place for you to start if you're not already receiving that, because I share these thoughts, I share these ideas, I share daily prompts that are kind of creatively agnostic. In other words, if you want to try something outside of what your normal go-to creative expression is, I give you some ideas, some starting points. And I offer that weekly place where you can be reminded, hey, show up, engage, do this consistently because you will start to see results. However we can connect, I would love to do so. And again, you can go to my main website, which is mikebrennan.me, or go to dailycreativehabit.com and check out all the resources that are there. I hope that you level up this year. I hope that maybe today is your day one, that you feel like this is speaking to you on such a level where you feel like your heart is pounding in your chest and you're like, how does he know? Has he been listening to my thoughts? No, because I know, because that's been me. It's been my journey, it's been my experience. And I've been willing to talk about that and share those things so that others can be helped. And maybe that's you today. So whatever your takeaway is here, I would love to hear what that is. And I would love to help you in next steps. And remember, again, we're all in this together. I want to see you show up consistently so that you can win again and again and again. It's been a while since I've had one of these solo episodes, but if you've listened in the past, you know that I always end the same way. And my charge to you again today is go create something. Thanks for listening today. I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe, leave a rating and a review. It really helps this podcast be seen and heard by others.